today's session, we'll be starting off with time series analysis. If you are new to this channel, consider subscribing. And if you would like to receive alerts when similar videos are uploaded, do press the bell icon too. So let's jump right into the topic. Time series is a series of figures spread over time, most commonly sales. So basically, it's the historical data of sales which is arranged month-wise or year-wise. Now, there are four components of time series. The first one is the trend. What do you mean by trend? Trend is the general pattern of the data. If you're a businessman, your sales might either be consistently increasing or consistently decreasing. There's always a general pattern in which the sales occur based on the efficiency with which the organization works. So the general pattern of the data is known as the trend. The second component of time series is the seasonal variation. Seasonal variation is the short-term fluctuations around trend. Suppose you are involved in the business of making ice creams. When you have maximum sales, it is in the summertime, and during the winter time, your sales reduces. So based on the seasons, your sales shoots up or drops down. So these fluctuations are known as seasonal fluctuations. The third component is cyclical variations. These are long-term fluctuations around trend. Now, what do you mean by long-term fluctuations? In the economy, you might have boom, depression, recession, etc. So these are known as the cyclical fluctuations. And the last component is random variation. Random variation are fluctuations due to unpredictable factors. Example, strikes or hurricanes, earthquakes, floods. All these are unpredictable factors that affect our sales. Now, from an examination point of view, we need to study only the trend and the seasonal variation. Now, coming back to the topic, if you're a businessman, you would definitely want to know the sales that you would be achieving in the coming years because you could plan accordingly, you could make arrangements accordingly. So our first task is to find out what is the trend and why are we finding the trend? To forecast the sales for the future. Because if we know that the sales is increasing on an average of 20%, then it is very easy to estimate the sales of the next year. That is why we are keen to understand the trend of the business. Now, one method of finding out the trend is the regression analysis or the least squares method. So you might have noticed this formula of regression analysis in the performance management formula sheet. What in the world are these formulas? Looks confusing, right? Don't worry, I will give you an example wherein you will understand exactly where these formulas lead us to. So the first equation is y is equal to a plus bx. This is known as the trend line. Now, if you notice here, there are two variables. One is y and the other one is x. Y is the dependent variable and x is the independent variable. Now, what do you mean by the dependent and the independent variable? I will give you an example. Take the case of advertisement and sales. Now, sales will increase as a result of making advertisement, which means that sales is dependent on advertisement. That is, sales is the dependent variable and advertisement is the independent variable. Now, as far as our problems in budgeting are concerned, the X, the independent variable, is the year or the months, and the Y, the dependent variable, is the sales. What does this mean? Now, if you are starting off the business, that is in year zero, you will not have any sales, or maybe you will have very negligible sales. And as in when you progress, that is as in when the years go by, your sales increases if you efficiently run your business. So in this case, your sales is dependent on the year or months, which means that sales will be the dependent variable and the year or the months will be the independent variable. Now let's take an example so that you will understand the meaning of the formulas. So we have the year in the first column running from 0 to 3, and we have sales in the second column. Now we just saw that the equation of the trend line is y is equal to a plus bx, where y is the dependent variable and x is the independent variable. Now, in this case, year X, that's the independent variable, and sales Y, that's the dependent variable, dependent on the number of years that the business has been running. In year zero, that is just when you started off, you were able to achieve a sales of 1,000 units. which means that even though you did not have any experience, you still achieved a sales of 1,000 units, which means that there is a portion of sales that will happen even though the years have not progressed. So that is the meaning of A. A is the sales when X is equal to 0. That's a constant figure. We were able to achieve 1,000 units even before we completed 1 year of operation. So A in this case is 1,000 units. Now what is B? Now look carefully in the figures. In year 1, you have a sales of 1,100 units, which means that 1,000 units you were able to achieve without any experience, plus 100 units you were able to increase once you entered year 1. Now moving on to year 2. You are able to achieve 1,000 units even without any experience, but when you entered year 2, you were able to achieve 200 units. And in year 3, 1,000 units, the sales that is generated without any experience, plus 300 units when you entered year 3. So what is the pattern or what is the trend? You could say that the value of X, that is 1, multiplied by 100, you get the additional sales that you're generating. In year 2, it is 2 into 100 is the additional sales generated. And in year 3, 3 into 100 is the additional sales generated. So what is the rate of change that is taking place in sales? It is 100 times the number of years, correct? 100 into X. So that is what is written here, 100X, where 100 is the rate of change and it is known by the alphabet B. B is nothing but the rate of change of sales when the value of X changes. So for this data, we've already got the trend line. Y is equal to 1,000 plus 100X. So what was 1,000? 1,000 is a constant or the sales when X is equal to 0. And what is B? B is the rate of change of sales when X changes. Now, can you forecast the sales of the 4th year? Simple, right? You've already got the equation of the trend in your hand. So can you tell me what will be the sales in the 4th year? 4th year means when X is equal to 4. So substituting X is equal to 4 in the equation, we get Y is equal to 1,000 plus 100 into 4, or Y is equal to 1,400. So from the trend line, we know that in year 4, we will be able to achieve 1,400 units of sale. So that is the meaning of the trend line. We are establishing a pattern of sales based on the historical data so that we can forecast the sales of the next year. So that's the main purpose of the trend line. Now, since the figures given in the table was quite easy, we were able to establish the trend line very quickly. But in the practical scenario, the figures might be bigger and we may not be able to establish the pattern or the trend just by looking. So for aiding us or for helping us, we have the formulas for finding the values of A and B. So the formula for A is sigma y divided by n minus B sigma x divided by n. And the formula for B is n sigma xy minus sigma x and a sigma y, the whole divided by n sigma x squared minus sigma x the whole squared. Pretty difficult formulas, right? But don't you worry. It is given in the formulae sheet for your performance management examinations. So you do not need to crack your head and learn it by heart. Now what we will do is we will solve for A and B and see whether we get the very same trend line that we have found out. So first we will tackle B. So for B, we need to find out sigma xy. So an additional column is required for that. Sigma x is nothing but 6. That's the total of the x values. And sigma y is the total of y values. So that's 4,600. We've already got that. Now we need additional column for sigma x squared. So 2 more columns required, sigma xy and sigma x squared. So I've added 2 columns, that is xy and x squared. What is xy? X multiplied by y, that is 0 multiplied by 1,000 is 0. 1 multiplied by 1,100 is 1,100 and so on. And x squared is 0 multiplied by 0, you have 0. 1 multiplied by 1, you have 1. 2 multiplied by 2, you have 4, and so on. And we have also taken sigma xy, that's the total of xy 7,400, and the total of x squared, that is 14. Now we will calculate B. So N here is the number of observations. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 observations. So that is why N is taken as 4. And sigma xy is 7,400. Sigma x is 6. Sigma y is 4,600. And sigma x squared is 14. And sigma x the whole squared is 6 squared. So we are just substituting the values that we obtained in the table in the formula to get the value of B as 100. So that is exactly the value of B that we got in our trend line. Now moving on to the calculation of A. Sigma y is 4,600 divided by n, that's the number of observations, that is 4. B, we have already calculated it as 100, so we substitute the value of B as 100. And sigma x is 6 and n is again 4. We get the value of A as 1,000. So that's exactly what we have got in our trend line. So now I hope you have understood the meaning of these formulas. It is just to find out the pattern of the data. Now for a deeper understanding, we will plot the values of x and y in a graph. So we have the year on the x-axis and the sales on the y-axis, just like in the table. So the first point of plot is when x is 0, y is 1,000. So that is here. And the next point of plot is when x is 1, y is 1,100. The third point of plot when x is 2, that is when the year is 2, then the sales is 1,200. And the last point of plot is when x is 3, sales is 1,300. We join the line to get the trend line, a perfect straight line. What does this mean? The pattern of increase in sales over the years is same. Do you think that is possible in practical scenario? That is absolutely not possible. This is just a hypothetical situation. Now I will show you how the actual sales figure in the practical scenario. So the white curve that you see on screen is generally the pattern of sales. So if you notice here in the year 1, suppose you are selling ice creams. In the first half of the year, you have an increase in sales because it's the summer season. And in the next half, you have a drop in sales because it's the winter season. And again, this cycle continues. And we know that this fluctuation is known as seasonal fluctuations. Now, when you're collecting the sales data, you're taking sigma xy, sigma x, sigma y, which means that the seasonal fluctuations just gets evened out and we get a straight line, which is nothing but an average sales. That is not the actual sales that is taking place. So only if we find out the extent of seasonal fluctuations can our predictions or the forecast of sales be more accurate. So just understand that whenever we calculate the trend line with this equation, what was this equation? Y is equal to A plus BX. We are just trying to find an average sales. It is not the actuals. The actuals will fluctuate, but all the fluctuations are evened out and we are forming a trend line, which is a straight line. That is just to show the average growth in sales, but that is not enough for our predictions for the next year. We need to know how much is the increased sales in summer and what is the reduced sales in winter if we are in the business of ice creams. So now we will get to the next topic, that is seasonal fluctuations. Now for seasonal variations, there are mainly two techniques to measure it. So the first technique is the additive model. Now in the additive model, we calculate the forecasted sales by adding the seasonal fluctuation to the trend. For example, if the sales trend is 1,000 units and if it is mentioned in the question that the seasonal factor is plus 50, then what is the forecasted sales? Forecasted sales is nothing but 1,000 plus 50 or 1,050 units. That is, we are making an adjustment for the seasonal fluctuation by means of a plus or a minus sign. Suppose if you're in the business of ice creams, in summer, you will be adding plus 50 and in winter, you will be reducing 50. This is the manner in which the additive model tries to calculate the forecasted sales. Now coming to the next method, that is the multiplicative model. In this, the forecasted sales is calculated by trend multiplied by seasonal fluctuations. Example, if the sales trend is 1,000 units and the seasonal index value, please note the term index value. In the question, they will mention the index value is 108. Now, the meaning of 108 is simple. It just means that the seasonal fluctuation is 8%. So in this case, the forecasted sales will be 1,000 units multiplied by 108% or 1,080 units. So what have we done here? In the multiplicative model, we have to multiply with the seasonal factor to get the forecasted sales. In the additive model, we will be adding the seasonal fluctuation to get the forecasted sales. In the example that we were telling, that is the ice cream business, for summer, if it is an additive model, we will be adding 50, and in winter, we will be reducing 50. And in the multiplicative model, the index for the summer will be 108. That is, we are supposed to increase the sales for the summer. And if we are trying to forecast the winter sales, then the seasonal index will be given as, say, 92, which means that you have to multiply with 92%, which will reduce your sales. This is the way in which you calculate the forecasted sales in the additive and the multiplicative model. Just remember that in additive model, it is plus or minus the seasonal fluctuations. In the multiplicative model, it is into the seasonal fluctuation. In our example of the ice cream business, if it's the summer, the index will be exceeding 100 because you want to increase the sales. But in case of winter, it will be a number which is less than 100 because you want to reduce the sales. All that you have to do is trend multiplied by seasonal factor as a percentage. So we come to an end of today's session. We will be taking up MCQs in the next session. If you have benefited from the video, do click the like and subscribe button and do press the bell icon if you would like to receive alerts for the upcoming videos. So thank you all and have a great day.